whales are incredible animals. The biggest currently living on Earth animal is indeed a type of whale. But the sheer size of these incredible beasts is merely a promile of their amazing glory. I have always been fascinated by them, and as I have dug deeper into their biology and evolution, my love and awe for them only grew. Did you know that whales actually evolved from a common ancestor with today's ungulates, like hippos, horses, and camels? And yet, only a few of the species, called baleen whales, are not active predators. Whales are among the most intelligent animals in the world, and that is including humans. Not only they do have their own language, with grammar and proper names given to each individual, cetaceans like dolphins actively gossip and mock other dolphins who are not around. Blue whales have been observed shielding humans from shark attacks, and false orcas could be seen literally teaming up with sperm whales and other cetaceans to avoid being attacked by orcas. It's scientific fact that cetaceans' brains possess the same spindle neurons in the same exact place as humans do, and in very similar amount. That means they are not only intelligent, but fully self-aware, as these structures are believed to be related to the social behavior, emotions, judgment, but also the mind and awareness about oneself. In other words, if whales and dolphins had thumbs, they would be to the marine life what humans are to the land. Isn't that fucking cool? There are two types of whales, the baleen whales, like the blue whale, the gray whale, right whale, bowhead whale, or humpback whale, as well as more abundant toothed whales, which include orcas, belugas, bottlenose dolphins, boto dolphins, narwhals, even though they only have 2 teeth, false orcas, porpoises, sperm whales, and so on. And each of them possesses unique adaptations suited best for the survival in their respective habitats. The toothed whales feed exclusively on the meat of other animals, from small crustaceans, bigger fish and pinnipeds like seals and sea lions, to other whales and dolphins. Orcas are known to routinely hunt and eat sharks and attack and chase off, and sometimes even fed on smaller whales. Baleen whales, as their name suggests, are filter feeders and feed mostly on krill and other planktonic life form filtered out of the water. As deeply social animals, they foster strong family bonds. Orcas are witnessed babysitting not only their own calves, but also calves of their children, much like grandparents looking over their grandchildren in humans. But these social bonds can extend onto other animals. False orcas were seen flocking with dolphins and sperm whales, and one male false orca in captivity mated with female bottlenose dolphin, producing a fertile offspring. But these social and interspecies bonds do not end on instinctual nurture alone. Cetaceans help each other, literally. When one whale or orca is caught stranded on a piece of land and calls for help, other whales or orcas would flock to try save the specimen in distress, oftentimes dying alongside them when an attempt was unsuccessful. Not only that, whales and dolphins seem to know that humans can help them if they ask for it. Whales who have been injured or caught in the nets of fishermen and swimming up to the boats, to show their condition and remaining in one place, until freed by helpful two-legged creatures, after which they often show gratitude by jumping over the water, or other display of affection. Simultaneously, despite the predatory nature of dolphins, orcas, or sperm whales, there have been little to no known unprovoked attacks on humans by them, just as if they knew it's better odds to be on good terms with these weird, small land creatures. What's more, it's been proven that they can teach this knowledge to their offspring, much like a lioness teaches her cubs how to hunt. And given the aforementioned size and content of their brains, it's safe to assume they actually know what they are doing, not only doing something because their instincts tell them. But whales are not all cute and cuddly. Orcas play with their food. Literally. They toss and throw smaller animals around, throwing them over the surface of the water, before catching and eating them alive. But dolphins are no better. They have been recorded and documented to actively try to sexually molest or even attempt to rape their human caretakers in captivity. One dolphin, when left by a woman he engaged in brief sexual contact with, literally committed suicide by drowning. Another, female this time, bottlenose dolphin training with a male caretaker, attempted to simulate mating behavior on her human again and again, and again, and again, until he finally gave in and agreed to sexually stimulate her, which he regretted later in life. If a human did this to another human, it would be called harassment, molestation, or even coercion. But we cannot really judge dolphins by human standards. They may be equally intelligent, but they are vastly different, with different mindset and instincts. And judging them by human standards would be pointless. As social animals, whales and dolphins have complex communication systems, using series of squeaks or clicks that surprisingly have meaning, grammar and differ accentually between localities, much like human language. These sounds can include echolocation, to which whales and dolphins use a structure on their heads, called melons. Not all whales can echolocate and therefore not all possess the melon on their heads. Whales are mammals, so how can they swim underwater and dive for such long time periods? The answer is simple, and yet fascinating. They store the oxygen they inhale through their blowhole into the cells of their muscles, thus being able to keep the blood oxygenated for longer than land mammals and being able to hold the breath for a longer period therefore. Such fascinating, huge, intelligent and so different from what people know animals were sure to attract the imagination, awe and attention of people all over the world. Many worlds' mythologies talk about them, speak about them as more than earthly animals, claim them to be mythical or spiritual beings or vessels for their ancestors. The Amazon is home to the unique species of dolphin called the boto, and this pink-skinned dolphin is a central figure of the legend speaking about an entity called the Encantado. The Encantado is a seductive male spirit inhabiting the Amazon River, in his natural state looking just like the boto dolphin. But when the nights of the full moon arrive, the entity morphs into a handsome man dressed in white clothing, with white hat on his head to cover his dolphin blowhole, and he set out to the town, looking for places where people gather and party. Then, the dolphin shapeshifter enchants the ladies with incredible dancing skills, otherworldly singing voice and beyond human ability to play any instrument. He's a womanizer and he doesn't hide it. The women seduced and enchanted by the Encantado are often left pregnant after the hot night with a magnetizing stranger that, sadly, will not be around to raise his offspring, as he'll be busy going back to his underwater home and doing dolphin things, or seducing and impregnating another woman. I can't help but think that it kind of explains how most Latino guys are amorous, fun-loving, party-loving womanizers. LOL, they gotta all be kids of the dolphin Casanova. But nah, for serious, the boto seems like an epitome of modern Peruvian Latino community. Minus that whole child-abandoning stuff, luckily. You cannot help but draw similarities. LOL. Y'all know all too well that I'm not a racist and I actually prefer Latino and Native American men over others, even though I'm into firm loyal monogamy. LOL. Anyways, the boto Encantado can serve as a cautionary tale, but most other spiritual whales are less mischievous and more wise and guarding. From magical South America, we go to insular Japan, where the Bait Kujira, literally the whale ghost, is a malevolent, but righteous entity, taking revenge on whoever hunts and eats their earthly brethren. That's right, if you hunted or ate whales, you just may be on a fierce vengeful spirit's radar. The origin of the whale ghost are unknown and clad in as much mystery as the spirit itself and its fierce, spiteful anger directed only against those who had wronged the whale kind, and not anyone else makes the air or mystique surrounding the apparition all the more thick and impermeable. It doesn't shed innocent blood, it doesn't call out for sacrifices. All it cares for is the well-being and good soul rest of its fellow whales, who met their untimely death from human hands. The apparition does not touch, neither hurting nor killing, anyone else who did not commit such offense. The magical Japan is not the last one to have a spurt whale haunting its waters. Haitian legends speak about a whale like Loi, a supernatural, semi-divine entity, known as La Baleine. One cannot help but notice how the name actually refers to baleen whales. This Loi is motherly and protective, sometimes seen as another form or manifestation of a mermaid like Loi, La Sirene, a famous and important figure in the pantheon. Other times, La Baleine is depicted as a female lover of La Sirene, forming a love triangle between her and her husband Agui. Who knows, maybe La Sirene herself shapeshifts into a whale form to be with her whale spirit lover and switches to humanoid for again, when with her formal husband? Or maybe they are one and the same entity? The opinions are as varied as the worshippers of the Haitian Buddha itself. One thing remains unchanged, though. La Baleine's incredible, motherly, nurturing nature, willing to protect her followers at all costs. From hot and humid Haiti to the cold Greenland, where Nordic folklore talks about a giant, Leviathan-sized, whale-looking monster called Lingbacker, said to inhabit Greenland Sea's deepest, darkest, most unexplored depths. The Orvarad saga explores the adventures of the titular hero, who at one point comes across this formidable beast. As he and his crew were sailing southwesterly through the Greenland Sea in vengeance against the troll Ogmund Floki, slayer of Eyjolf, they spotted two rock-like things rising from the water. Of course, these weren't ryoks. As the heroes sailed back past what they thought was an island, Vigner explained to Otter that, had they landed sooner, the crew would have surely drowned. That's because, what they thought was a piece of land, must have been two sea monsters, Lingbacker, the greatest whale in the world, and Hafgufa, who bore all the monsters in the sea. What's even more wild, both the Lingbaker and Lafgufa seem to have derived from a single creature called the Aspidocalone in the Physiologus, who is also depicted as cetacean-ish. The Icelandic Physiologus contains two illustrations of the Aspidocalone, one with its back overgrown with vegetation and another with gaping jaws, pointing at the sheer size of the creature. Yes, that's exactly what it sounds like. Norse mythology already has a giant wolf who can destroy the world if broken from his chains, another two giant wolves that can gulp down whole-ass sun and moon, a literal world-encircling serpent. Now they have an island-sized whale who birthed two other island-sized monsters. The Nordic have a thing for giants for sure. Not only Iceland, but more south-positioned Ireland has these island-sized whales. The name this gargantum, semi-spiritual being possesses Jasconius, sometimes called island fish but described more akin to a whale, rather than a piscine creature, so big it holds whole island, with its own trees, soil, living beings, and full-blown ecosystem on its back. The huge whale from Sinbad Tales comes to mind. Even Africa has its own whale legends. There, in the beliefs of native Yao people of Malawi, Mozambique, and Tanzania, exists a creature that looks like a whale, but is able to walk on land, as it has legs instead of fins. The creature's name, Nalumgumi, translates to simply whale and is a central figure of many initiator ceremonies of the people of the region, representing kinship and giving. Would surface near a village, and the people could come and carve off chunks of meat from its vast body. This action was painless to the being and the wounds healed immediately. The meat itself tasted different depending on where it came from. Some areas on the Namungumi's body produced choice cuts, while others were practically inedible. Back to the Asian lands, the Vietnamese people practice the art of Kaong, which is worship of whales in the most literal sense. In Vietnamese religion, whales are believed to be guardian angels that protect fishermen. Beached whales are buried and given funerals, much like to a dead human, and festivals are held in honor of them. The custom could have started with a Buddhist legend. The story told that after witnessing the plight of poor fishermen was caught inside the storms in South Sea, Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, aka Goddess Guanyin, tore her cassock into many pieces and turned them into the whale to help the fishermen. She noticed that the whale could not withstand the power of the tempest. The Avalokitesvara gathered elephant bones from the forest and the whale received it, which made the whale strong enough to overthrow the storm and save the man. Hence the name Kaong, which translates to elephant fish, even though whales are not fish. There exists a belief that whales can be possessed by spirits of ancestors and guard specific people, as well as one that says that whales are spirits themselves and can communicate telepathically with the people on land, in order to save them from casualties and harm. Whale worship doesn't focus on whales alone, though, but also on gods and goddesses related to whales or associated with them. Japanese god Ebisu, an out-of-wedlock son of goddess Izanami, who became patron of fishermen, was associated with whales. And going even further back, the native Japanese Ainu mythology contains cetacean-shaped deities such as Repunriri Kataineo-uk Kamui, who was primary ocean deity, shaped like a whale. Japan also features prominent whale deities, like Repun Kamui, and Repunsaki Koro Kamui, both either shaped like an orca, or being able to assume that form at will. Whale worship among Korean peninsula include ocean deities that bring fish and protection and save people from misfortunes, tutelary deities of the land and nation that can be also wrathful to cause violent waves and winds to defeat foreign enemies. For example, one famous 620s monk, Munmu of Silla, left a will that he will reincarnate as either a whale god or dragon god to protect the nation. In China, worship of whale gods was intertwined with worship of sea dragon gods and sea dragon kings. Fishermen especially along Bohai Sea and East China Sea regarded whales as deities that bring fish and protections. Fishermen considered whale sightings as good omens and treated with utmost respect. When whales appeared, all vessels made ways for the whales to pass, and people burned paper money which were to offer to gods, and threw rice into the sea as offering. African and Haiti people alike believe that whales and dolphins can do the bidding of mermaids and can be sent by them to spy on humans. Their high intelligence made people associate them with marine kingdom, a realm of powerful underwater spirits like mermaids, sea serpents, dragons, and leviathans, falsely and hurtfully labeled as demonic by modern evangelist circles, presumably an attempt to demonize old faiths and bring people into Christianity. These are the same people who think Harry Potter, Hello Kitty, and Pokemon are demonic gateways for possession, so yeah, I wouldn't take their words all that seriously. Even more so that as marine dragon myself, I assure you I am not a demon and in fact, am disgusted by all malevolent beings. What I want to say is that there's a belief that cetaceans and mere people are connected. Stories circulate about an ex-soldier who was kidnapped by what he believed were dolphins, only to witness them shapeshifting into something else. The anonymous man does not specify what these dolphins transformed into, but shapeshifting is a common feature in most nature spirits, including water-dwelling spirits. Aside shapeshifting dolphins, he describes weird bioluminescent moss, that when touched by him also made his hand shine, possibly some sort of bioluminescent symbiotic algae covering the moss, as well as children being dragged into underwater labor for construction of underwater cities. It's really interesting account. Whales are amazing, both the filter-feeding ones, as well as the toothed sperm whales, orcas and dolphins. Cetaceans are so incredible that their intellect, complex social behavior and elusive nature mystify both scientists, as well as conspiracy theorists and folklore enthusiasts alike. From spirits of ancestors, to the marine spirits, to mighty sea gods, there is just something that makes people venerate and love these beings, and I totally see why. As whales are cosmopolitan creatures, the mythology surrounding them is also cosmopolitan. It is believed that the biblical Leviathan could be either an ancient whale, or inspired by the ancient cetacean named after the Gargantum Jewish beast. The Leviathan melvillei was a massive, monstrous ancestor of modern sperm whales, who lived from 9 to 13 years ago, sharing the deep prehistoric waters with the famous megalodon shark. That beast of a whale lived in what is modern-day Peru, and as a huge predator that it was, it hunted down other megafauna, like ancient sharks, seals, and cetaceans, possibly feeding on talon-clawed belemnites too, much like modern-day sperm whale feeds on giant squids. Even before this massive behemoth of a whale came to be, its slender-built, eel-shaped ancestor, the Basilosaurus, ruled the seas of the earth up until its extinction 34 million years ago. It was the first fully aquatic mammal of its time, and although not as big as the Leviathan, was also enormous, reaching as much as 20 meters in length. Even though it's nothing in comparison to modern-day 30-meter-long blue whales, it was still a huge animal for its ecological niche. Funny thing, the Basilosaurus was once thought to be a lizard, because it had very reptile-like anatomy, aside its strong, eel-like tail and highly reduced hind limbs that were nothing like the fleshy fins of the Mosasaurus. Only later on the bone analysis proved it was indeed an eerily whale-like mammal. Here in Poland, whales and dolphins do not live as native species, but we have a common porpoise as the only native-dwelling Polish cetacean. Of course, more of whale-like beings lived in the past on the terrains that is now Poland, and it is believed that the famed bones of the Wawel dragon presented at a Wawel cathedral have been identified as belonging to some ancient ancestor of whales. That's sad, 'cause we have such a rich lore of spirits of nature going back to ancient pagan times, and yet, we have no mythology, lore, or sayings about our native porpoise. Anyways, the rest of the world surely tells us how marvelous these creatures are. Science keeps discovering new things about the biology, intellect, self-awareness, and life of these brilliant animals, and I'm certain we're only at the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what we still can learn about them. All that said, I have not gathered all the knowledge and info about these marvelous wonders of evolution. My video is merely scratching the surface. And if I wanted to go deeper than that, this video surely would be over an hour long. Feel free to explore the wonders of these marine mammals on your own, you will not be disappointed. The depths of the seas, oceans, rivers, and lakes hide many wonderful beings and secrets. Who knows how many of them are still left undiscovered.